So, Eddie, the president says all of this, including there seemed to be quite a bit of laughter when they talk about judge problems, which might include defying judicial orders. And then he says, we've just gotten started. You haven't seen anything yet. What does that mean for the country going forward?
It means that we stand on the precipice, Chris. I mean, our democracy is, and we're not being hyperbolic here, our democracy is under threat. More importantly, it's under siege. Donald Trump has just expressed very clearly his unitary theory of executive power, that he has a view of the imperial presidency that runs roughshod over the separation of powers. He doesn't care about three equal branches of government. We are presently, and there's no hyperbole here again, we are presently in a constitutional crisis. The question is, will the American people allow it? And so when he says he's going to barrel forward, that means he's going to continue to exercise executive power without constraint. And that means, to be honest, Chris, our democracy is in real peril at this point.
Let me give you an example of what has a lot of people concerned, Congressman. Last night, the president made a pretty startling announcement about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man deported to El Salvador. Let me play for you exactly what he said.
The order from the Supreme Court stands,
sir. He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
Not only does that contradict his own team, they've claimed that he is essentially powerless, that they were waiting for the president of El Salvador to do something, but it also makes it clear he has no intention of following a Supreme Court order to facilitate the release. So now what?
Well, they're quibbling over the definition of the word facilitate. What does that mean? To listen to the Attorney General, she said they would facilitate, a plane ride for this guy back. But apparently the president is not going to call the president of the United States, is not going to call the president of El Salvador to demand that this person be put on the plane and sent home. That's the problem right now. I mean, like Eddie says, we're in a constitutional crisis. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're approaching one. And candidly, on the political side of this, Donald Trump would like nothing more than all day, every day to talk about this issue. He feels like he's winning every time he's talking about immigration and illegal immigrants. It distracts from the economic message that is really causing him enormous problems right now. But right now, the president is not facilitating the return of this individual. And I suspect the Supreme Court is going to have to step in again and offer further guidance as to how this man should be returned.
Yeah, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Eddie, is one example. Last night, though, the president again called undocumented immigrants as a group monsters that are raping and slaughtering Americans and trying to destroy our country. Of course, that's despite actual data that shows undocumented immigrants commit violent crime at a much lower rate than U.S. citizens. Trump also played at that rally a highly produced video of detainees being sent to El Salvador that's become familiar to most of us. But it was accompanied with a soundtrack, and I want to play that. The reaction to that, as you can see, cheers and chants of USA. Is the message that they're sending with that video law and order? Or, Eddie, is it something else?
Chris, law and order has always carried with it an ugly underbelly. As a phrase, this is hearkening back to the 1920s. Remember, the Johnson-Reed Immigration Act was basically written by the KKK. There is a deep nativist and racist undertow to what we're seeing and what we're hearing. The facts do not matter. There is a kind of a replay of the 100% Americanism that defined the 20s and the 30s. And we need to understand that for what it is. We can give them data all day long, Chris. It doesn't matter, because something more visceral, something uglier, something, dare I say, evil is animating this. And unless we name it as such, we will find ourselves complicit with horrors. I'm speechless in some ways.
Well, Congressman, the president also didn't hold back when asked about going after his political enemies. And here's what he said about that.
You are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No. People that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I
These
think
people
are
made you
dishonest.
angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest.
So, you know, I mentioned at the top, the quiet part out loud. This is at the heart of everything, his willingness to unleash the power of his presidency on anyone he chooses for simply being, in his opinion, dishonest. How has that threat changed the way, do you think, that the federal government and, frankly, everybody in the wake of Donald Trump operates these first 100 days?
Well, to say that he's not going after people is ridiculous. I mean, he issued an executive order a couple weeks ago urging Chris Krebs, who worked for Donald Trump in the Homeland Security Department running CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and Miles Taylor, who worked in the Homeland Security Department. He's urging that they be investigated. In the case of Chris Krebs, you know what his crime was? He said that the election, after the 2020 election, he said it was the most safe and secure election in American history. He was fired by tweet abruptly afterwards. That's why they're going after him. It's having a chilling effect. He's clearly using the office of the presidency to pressure, in this case, the FBI or the Justice Department to go after a person he considers a political enemy who's who's committed no crime. He just did his job. So this is having, I think, an enormously chilling effect. Look at these law firms and universities. So many of them are scared to death, and they're being forced to negotiate with this administration out of fear that they're going to be cut off. So, and who knows who else he's going to go after, going forward. This is new territory for all of us.
Right.
And in light of that, Eddie, let me ask you a question. I'm guessing you may have gotten it, but I certainly get it a lot from people who are very concerned about what they're seeing. And the question is, can we count on the Supreme Court to protect us? What's the answer to that, do you imagine?
I have no idea. You know, John Roberts is reportedly an institutionalist. I get this question all the time, too, Chris. He's an institutionalist, as we've described him over these years. But we see a fundamental challenge to the institution of the Supreme Court. We see a fundamental, a direct attack on the court system as such. Up to this point, the courts have played an important role, but we know that it's slow, it's deliberate, it's going to take time. But in the meantime, we've seen what they can do in 100 days. We can see what they can do in 100 days. So the Supreme Court cannot save us. Although it will play an important role, we're going to have to save us. And the question is, well, do we have the strength and the imagination to do so?
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, my question, Eddie, where that goes, because as you look at the polls, there is a clear indication that it's not just that more and more American voters who are taking part in these polls, are unhappy with the economy, that they're unhappy with maybe the lengths to which some of the immigration movements have gone. They seem to be concerned about what's happening in the country writ large. But what do they do with that? What does history tell us that any one person can do? Because I think implicit and sometimes explicit, when I get the question that you get as well, it's like, I feel helpless.
Right. Well, I get this a lot, too. I mean, we're not helpless. I mean, I think, of course, there are elections. The midterms are coming, but that's not the only thing we can do. David Brooks, the conservative columnist for the New York Times, has written about this. We saw what Governor Pritzker had just said recently, a couple of days ago. Americans are going to have to mobilize and organize to push back if we're going to defend our democracy. And that may involve something as dramatic, Chris, as a general strike. something to call attention to, in some ways, halt what these folk are doing. They're literally dismantling government right in front of our eyes. They're literally, right, absorbing power, in some ways exercising executive power without constraint. And so we're going to have to respond at the scale in which the attack on the democracy is taking place. And so I keep telling people we have to do it at the local level, we have to do it at the state level, and we have to do it at the national level. But we have to organize a response that is actually consonant with what we're experiencing. And that may very well involve a major, massive action on the part of the American people. We may need, no matter our ideological orientations, to take to the streets, it seems to me.
Eddie Glaude, former Congressman Charlie Dent, as, again, this meeting of the cabinet continues. We'll continue to listen in. Thank you, guys.